All right. Hi, guys. Dr. Newell again. So I want to go ahead and go over this is CH7 5. You will be starting this after you finish your work for 7-4, your practice work there. We are still using percent, parts, and wholes, but in this section, we are going to talk about the percent equation. Okay. And I'm not going to go through everything from this part in this one video. I want to make sure that you have a pretty decent understanding of how to set up the percent equation. As always, like with everything that we do, I want you to practice figuring out how numbers are percents and things are related, with little focus and emphasis on just using formulas. I have to teach you these formulas though, because as you get ready to start school in the fall, your teachers are going to present these formulas and they're going to expect you to know how to do them, use them, or to learn how to use them. So we're just getting a little bit of a jump start, and I want to talk to you about making sure you are comparing values and understanding how numbers are connected. So this over here, if you will, is what we worked on in order to find parts, wholes, and percentages. It is called the percent proportion. You know it is a proportion because you have fractions, one fraction that is equal to another fraction, period. Okay. And so what we are going to work on today is the percent equation. And that means we have a part equal to the percent times the base. That is the equation. One key thing that you must remember when you're dealing with percent equation is that you want to remember to convert the percent to a decimal. Okay? You have to make that conversion. So that is something that you need to remember here. And I think I'll make color that red. All right. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples that we have here on the side. I don't want to spend too much time here, so I will go probably quickly for you, but you can always pause, go back and rethink. Now, let's take a look at number one. It says, what number is 75% of 100? Now, again, just like with the proportion, I don't want you to get caught up in, oh, let me plug my numbers in. You're going to need to do that for some things. But for this right here, you don't even really need to do that. Okay, so let's get back to our handy dandy number line. If my number line told me that I have 0% here and 100% here, oh, that's not working well, and 50% in the middle, right? And if I was basing this off of 100, I know that 100% of 100 is what? 100. I know that 50% of 100 is, if you said 50, you were great, it's half. And 0% of 100, if I don't have nothing, I don't give nothing. So then what do you think 25% of 100 would be? If you said 25, you were correct. If I asked you what is 75% of 100, now, what do you think that's going to be? If your brilliant mind said 75, you are again correct. That's one quick way to do this. And that is us recognizing numbers and relationships. So what we can do, now that we're able to do that, we can go ahead and plug stuff in for this equation that we have. But I always want you to think first and then do whatever people are asking you to do. Okay, as far as equations go. But I need you to understand the why. All right. And number lines are a great way to be able to figure things out and see them as they are set up. All right. So let's go ahead here and let's work with our problem. So when you're using the percent equation, it's pretty similar to the formula that you had over here for the proportion, the percent proportion. You're just going to plug in the values where they belong. I have what number is, which means we don't know the part. So we're going to leave P for the part because we don't have any idea what it is. What number is 75%? I have the percent, so I'm going to plug that in, 75. And remember what I said, I'm going to convert my percents to a decimal. So I put my decimal there. I normally put a zero in front of it. And then I'm going to multiply it by the whole. And the whole is represented in this statement by of 100. So what percent is 75 What part is 75% of 100? Well, I just simply multiply 0.75 times 100. We know that when we multiply, we make numbers larger, correct? And if I multiply by 100, I am basically picking up this 75, if I could picture it on a place value chart, and I am moving it two spaces to the left. Or, as your teacher may say, move the decimal two spaces to the right. You don't really move the decimal though. The decimal stays where it is. And so my answer is going to be P equals, or the part is 75. And we already proved this with the number line, so I'm not going to go back to that. If you need to talk about this again, go ahead and pause the video and review. Our next problem is 3 is what percent of 5? I always want you to do some thinking. So if I say 3 is what percent of 5, how close are 3 and 5 on a number line? They're pretty close. So am I thinking that 3 would be 0% of 5? No, that's too far away. Is it 100% of 5? Nah, that would be too close because it would have to be 5 though in order to be 100%. And half of that, 50% of 5 would be 2.5. So 3 is going to fall somewhere in between 50 and 100%. Does that make sense? Let's go ahead and do the work, shall we? So let's plug in our values in our equation that we have here. So I'm going to put 3 because 3 is, so I already know what my part is going to be. I don't know the percent though. So that's where I'm going to have a variable. Okay. Whew, this is taking a long time to erase. I need to stop writing on here so much. I need a document camera. All right, so let's go ahead then and let's do some work. So I have my part, so I'll put 3 is equal to what percent, I don't know, so I'll keep my variable P, and then of 5. So the of, remember, of represents the whole number or the base. So I'm going to multiply that by 5. Okay. Now, in order to get P alone, any good algebra student knows I need to divide both sides by 5 since this 5 is being multiplied by the P. And when I divide 3 by 5, I'm going to get 0.60. And now I can convert this decimal back to a percent. And that is going to be me picking up my whole number here, my 60, and moving it over two spaces, right, on my number, on my place value. Or I just, as your teacher will explain, I just simply, looks like my board is getting jammed. I just simply move my decimal two spaces to the right. But you guys know by now we don't actually move our decimal. So our answer is going to be 0.60 for number 2. Pause if you need to, talk to a neighbor about it. Make sure you understand. Yes, we are simply plugging in numbers, but I also want you to somehow verify and confirm that you are close to the right answer. And so I think I am because I got 0.60. I knew it was going to be in between 50 and 100. Okay. Our next part here is 25 is 20% of what number? So this time I do have the part, which is 25. This is getting worse and worse. And I also have the percent, which is 0.2. Man, this is getting bad. This should be 0.20. And it's being multiplied by a whole number. I don't know what it is yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally just writing normal and it is making it look like lines. Did I do something weird over here? I'm going to divide both sides by 0.20. This is getting worse every time I do it. So that becomes 0.20. So I'm going to divide 25 by 0.20. And I should get 25 is 20% of what number? 125. So that would be, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that's right. I'm dividing both sides by 0.20. So that would be 25 divided by 0.20, and that is 125. So my whole is 125. And I could check this. I really just don't like how poorly this is allowing me to write on the screen right now. But if I wanted to check this, if I think about it, it says 20% of 125 is 25. I could check what 10% is, right? Could I do that and then double it and I should get the same answer? So if my answer is really 125, then I should be able to say 10% of 125 is equal to, and we remember all we have to do is move the decimal one space to the left to multiply. We know that word of in this case means multiply 10 times 125. So that would be 0.10 times 125, and that will give me 12.5. Now, if I do 12.5 times 2, that'll give me 25, right? So 20% of 125 equals 25. And this is how we do this checking of our work, okay? And that is it. I don't want to make this video longer than it needs to be. I'm sorry you had to deal with this horrible writing on my math apps today. I don't know what's going on with it, but I hope this video helped you to see the relationship between the percent equation and the percent proportion and how to plug in values, but also how to check your work, okay? Next time, I will make a video that will start talking about when we will see ourselves using percent equation. Ciao for now.